something in esports which is a trend that irritates me or just disappoints me, whether it's CSGO, League of Legends, StarCraft 2 even, is players, professional players who say, I just want to win. That's what they'll always say. All I care about is that trophy. I want to be the champion. I just care about being the best. My goal is to be the best. I just want to win. That's the best way to sum up the gist of it. Now, the reason why this irritates me is because I see it permeated throughout Western culture in a sporting sense. I see it in the NBA, in the NHL, in the NFL. I see pro players who aren't even that good, who don't make much improvement, who don't sacrifice aspects of their game, who haven't put themselves in a position to be the best, parroting these words. And I think part of what it is that when they grow up and they see the people before them who are the legends, they see like whoever it might be, Dan Marino, John Elway, they see Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, they see Wayne Gretzky, Mario Lemieux. They see these people, these incredible players who sacrificed everything and worked constantly to improve and be at the peak of their level and gave up almost everything and battled, and really all that was in these guys' minds was trying to win and trying to be the best. They hear the way they talk. And so, as with a lot of human behavior, they have this logic of, well, if he talks that way and he was a winner, then I'm trying to play and I'm trying to be good, so I'll talk that way and I'll adopt that mindset. And while the mindset is good, they don't bring with it all the other aspects of it. What they don't realize is that mindset, that philosophy, is the end stage. It's the verbal expression of an actual philosophy of their life, which took place in action, in small decisions that took place every day of their lives, to have a hard practice, to practice with purpose, to give up things to help teammates, to be able to battle, to scout out opponents, to improve your game, to be able to be humble and say, okay, I'm fantastic at this area, but is there a way I can still improve something very basic about my game and tweak up some of the small aspects and plug some of the leaks? And is there an area here where I'm good, but actually I'm good in a way that's abusive, I'm good in a way that's got too many, my risks are too great, and I need to shore up some of my decision making, and I need to be humble and understand that I can be coached by this guy, and I'm not, just because I'm the best player, I can't berate this teammate. All the things that went into it, these people haven't studied. They've just heard what's said, and then they're parroting the same things and thinking if they just try, that trying is enough. It's not enough. I mean, I do actually believe, I do accept the premise that these people actually believe it themselves, that they really do believe that their goal is to win, and that when they say their only goal is to be the champion, I really think that in their minds they do think that. But I think that's part of the problem. That's become the illusion, where they think to say that and just to do what they do normally, do a little bit extra, is enough. It's not enough if you want to be that guy who can say that and it can be legitimate in reflection of what your actions are and then your accomplishments later in your career. The actions that these people take do not match up. Like, for example, they might say that they practice hard. Okay, they might practice hard, like the practice might be there, and they might play hard within the practice, but do they do the hard practice? That's a different thing. Those are the things that are difficult to do. In a physical sense, they take a lot of effort out of you. In a mental or an esports sense, maybe they're very draining in the amount of time you have to put in, or the amount of mental effort and concentration on this practice, whereas you could just let that go a bit and relax a bit more and be half in, half out in the practice, and you're there at the practice, you're playing in the practice, maybe you're even succeeding in the practice in a relative sense, you're winning the games or you're doing decently in them, but are you actually applying yourself with purpose? Are you doing the boring practice? Are you doing the practice where all you do is work on the basics that even the beginner learns, and you're just making sure these are refined, these are perfected, these are improved upon, these are maintained at a very high level, not thinking, well, I'm very good and I'll just do that a week before the tournament and then I'll get myself up to shape again? Are you at a top level, and are you maintaining that elite level and then pushing for that extra 1% that might not seem like much in the context of it, but could be the difference that makes you the great player, that makes you win this next match? Are you doing these things? Most of these players are not. There are so many players, when they talk about this concept of playing hard, I know again what they mean. Yes, when the tournament match is live, they play hard. They really want to win this match, and they battle to their last piece of energy. There are some players, not all of them, who really do that and yet fail in this respect, because the problem is they play hard, but only in the official game. These are the same players. I've heard this story a million times in my esports career. At a tournament, there's a good player, maybe even a very good player. He's just lost a really big match that was close, and all he's telling you is all the stories about what he's going to do. He's saying, oh, well, after this tournament, you don't realize, man, I was so close. I'm going to come back so prepared. I'm going to practice so hard. I'm going to work on this area. I know what my problems are now. I'm going to improve them. Next time I'm going to beat him. I'm going to go all the way. Like, man, you don't understand. But here's the problem. That only exists for most of these players when they're in that mental state. When their consciousness is in that particular kind of heightened competitive awareness where external forces have forced them to be in the zone or to be locked in and keyed in because they know the whole weight of the pressure and the moment is up on them, that they realize how important it is. When they're in that state, when all advantages of the surroundings have set them up to have a chance to be focused in, then they're focused, then they want to succeed. The problem is, I always say to people like that, if they're friends of mine, if they're telling me about all the things they're going to do, I say this to them, just as a thought experiment. I say to them, don't tell me what you're going to do, tell me what you did that got you to this point. And what you'll find is the same person who next time is going to practice most, he's going to work on this area, he's going to acknowledge this. He's the one where before he was like, no, yeah, okay, I have some problems there, but that's not an issue for me. Like, I know what the risk reward is there. This is going to work out. Like, yeah, I've done some pretty good practice. Like, I think I've done enough here. Oh, I can beat this guy. Like, don't worry about that. They haven't done the hard yards. They haven't put in those long hours. And the fact that they didn't is why they're in this position now. And the idea that they're going to do it later, well, if you're going to do it later, why didn't you do it now? It's like that famous saying. It's something that goes along the lines of like, why do it right so that you don't have to spend more time doing it over later? It's the idea that to fix something later might be harder than putting in the initial hard effort to do it the correct way now and refine it now. It's that sort of a logic. And so those people go home and they don't put in that extra effort. They don't put in that thing. They think they will. Maybe they put in a bit more, but this is when their consciousness state changes. They go into a different state. It's no longer the case. They go back to their normal habits that they've built up. And because they haven't worked to improve their habits and their discipline, they don't have any of the support structure around themselves beyond the initial flame of that feeling and that energy. When that burns out, they're just left back to their own devices again. And the same things happen again and again. These are the people where they don't do absolutely everything they could do to improve. And yet the person who says, I just want to win, explained like that, or all that matters to me is to be the champion, all I'm doing is trying to be the best, that implies that nothing else matters except to be the best. And yet, does your life reflect that? Does your career reflect that? It doesn't, because you don't sacrifice the right parts of your game in order to improve, or the right parts of your style that are fun and can be successful in order to be a more successful, more consistent player, more effective, more efficient player. Do you sacrifice aspects of your game in a Counter-Strike or a League of Legends sense, in a team game, to help this teammate succeed in a way where some of your individual glory might be lessened? You'll still be a star player, but you'll help out this supportive player, and in doing so, he'll support you, and that will facilitate you to be the champion, but with maybe less impressive stats, or you won't be just seen as the standout center of attention. Are you willing to do that? Many players are not. You don't join the right team or make the hard decisions with your teammates. You keep this guy on because even though, yes, he has failed a bit. Oh, I think next season maybe he can turn it around and I hope he does a lot better. Oh, he used to be good 3 seasons ago. They don't make the hard decisions to bring in the guy where maybe you don't even like him or maybe you don't even know him well. But the difference is, if you made the correct decision for the actual game, you'd see he would fit your game better. He would give you a better chance to succeed. And unfortunately, you'd have to leave behind this friend, but you can still be friends with him. And in the game as a professional, you can succeed in your career. And if he's a friend of yours, wouldn't he want you to succeed in your career? They don't practice more than others. I mean, you think of the StarCraft players, the number of StarCraft players who had all these stories when they got a trip to Korea booked for them by their team, and they would say, when I go there, I'm going to play like 50 games a day, I'm going to improve so much, I'm going to play all the best Koreans, I'm going to get a really high level, I'm going to qualify for GSL. They went there, they got their heads kicked in for the first 2 weeks, they gradually started to improve. After about a month, they were just starting to get like an okay win rate, they were doing all right, they were getting the odd win, and then they were like, oh, God, this is too much, like I'm just going to go back to the West and just play as I did before and be a good player and occasionally get upset wins and have tournament wins. I'm going to try and take some of this, but this is too much, like this is no life to have, like what am I doing here with all this effort? That's because they weren't willing to sacrifice everything. It was too much for them. And you can see the ones that did, like Nanawa, who did have this incredible level of consistency over their career and multiple high accomplishments. And numerous times they did beat out amazing players who other Westerners would have just lost to in close fashion, being like, oh, it was so close, I had such a good game, next time I'll get him. There is no next time, mate. If you're a League of Legends player, even top players, elite players, some of them go into bot games and just practice killing creeps against the computer because they want to perfect that aspect. They practice that as though they were a beginner. There's many players who are in Diamond who'll never go into another bot game in their life. They'll be like, well, I'll just play on solo queue if I was going to do that. It's about practicing with purpose. It's not about just playing to win the practice or to win a single game. It's about practicing so that you improve and that you get the best aspects of your game to a high level, you minimize mistakes, and then a natural byproduct of that will be success and winning. You don't need to focus on winning the actual game. You need to focus on playing your best and making the best decisions and minimizing your mistakes. Then you will win games. You will win series. You will win tournaments. You will improve as a player. And as long as you're improving as a player, you will ascend through the ranks. It's irrelevant whether you win this game, because you can win this game and you can win the next game, but will you win the third game when you play the better player who you needed to have all these aspects in full refinement to be able to beat him? No, you won't, because you haven't worked on that. That hasn't been a goal of yours. Your goal was just to win, and therefore, if anything, just winning by the minimum margin was enough for you. It wasn't about this obsession to be excellent, to be great. In Counter-Strike Global Offensive, do you DM every day with all the different weapons? Do you practice your proper technique in DM? Do you not just go for headshots in DM, but in a real game you just spray into the body? When you're in a practice game, do you practice the actual strategy? Do you do it in an offhanded manner and go, don't worry, in the real game it'll be okay? Well, the way that you practice is the way you're going to play in the game. It's the way you're going to be most comfortable. It's the way your habits will be formed. So if you practice sloppily and like a fuckhead, then you're going to play sloppily and like a fuckhead in the game. And then when it happens, you're going to go, that's not who I am. Like, I'm a better player than that. I know my skills better. No one gives a shit, mate. Do it in the game, or no one gives a flying fuck what you can do in practice. There are NBA players who can make 10 3-pointers in practice when no one's guarding them and it's just them and an empty net. But put them into a game, they can't even make 3 3-pointers in a game with any kind of consistency, because that takes an incredible amount of focus and discipline and execution. And that's what you don't have. You have the talent and you haven't refined it to be excellent and to be able to perform with consistency, because that's where hard work and dedication and sacrifice comes in. These people don't obsess over winning. I just want to win. Well, where is your obsession over winning? Where is winning the thing that dominates your thoughts and is all that's in your mind, is the one goal that everything is building towards? I'll tell you a story in Counter-Strike. There was an all-time great player called Potty. He was one of the most well-rounded players in history. He practiced incredible amounts, even in empty servers. He was someone who'd studied the game a lot. He'd played incredible amounts of hours. He played tons and tons and tons of LANs, and he was so clutch and so amazing on LAN. And so when he went to these CPL events, North American and European ones, the best tournaments at the time, he had something like 9 where he made like the finals, or won like 5 or 6 or whatever it was. And the thing about this guy was, he was so used to being excellent and always figuring out how to get back to that excellent level, that there was a tournament once where he went with a newer lineup, tried out a couple of younger players who hadn't had a lot of experience at that level, and it was CPL Winter 2002. And he was used to winning events. He was used to coming top 2 at worst. And at this tournament, he came 3rd. And his team did well to come 3rd, and they had matches where they were outmatched and outclassed by some of the better teams, and things broke their own way at the key point, like 11-11 on Inferno, whatever it was, versus the Game Online team of Element. And okay, he could have said, like another player, well, good tournament, new roster, yeah, we still got 3rd, 3rd's good, right? I remember looking at this guy's face when he was on the podium and he received the 3rd place check, and he looked on his face like someone in his family had died, because he realized, this is nothing. I have the potential to be a champion. I have been a champion before. I will probably be a champion in the future. What have I done wrong to be in a position where I'm 3rd now? What could I have done differently? Now, to other people, they say, hey, relax, enjoy 3rd place. Those are the people who aren't doing everything to win. They are willing to accept failure. They are willing to accept that at some point in the game, something went a little bit badly, that if you'd have refined more aspects, if you'd have put more effort in, if you'd have made better choices in terms of teammates and not just got someone who seemed cool and hope he did well, then you would have potentially been in that 2nd or that 1st place. Those aren't the people who you want to listen to. Now, it's understandable that it's a rare person who's like that, who's like the Michael Jordan, who's like the Marilyn Monroe, who's obsessive about winning, to the extent that some of these guys can get injured and they're still putting themselves in the game and they're still doing everything they can do. There's a story where Kobe Bryant, and not a lot of people know this in basketball, on his 2 championships he won without Shaquille O'Neal, so in 2009, 2010, and he made the finals 3 years, 2008, 2010. I think it was around 2008 that he actually broke one of his fingers. So because he'd made the final, and he knew he had the chance to make the final next season, he refused to have surgery on his finger, in case that delayed his practice in the off-season, delayed his consistency, and just said, I'll just learn how to play with this modified splint on my finger. And he played all those other seasons and won those championships with a broken finger on his shooting hand. That's how much time, that's how much dedication and focus this guy had to winning and seizing the opportunity before him, not just saying, well, I'll just be at the fates, I'll just be at the whim of the fates in terms of how this injury heals, and if I get a chance, and if I don't get a chance this year and it doesn't all work out and I haven't got enough practice in because of the English thing, I'll just say, well, I was injured, what could I do? No, he wasn't willing to let that happen. He was going to take every opportunity and he was going to force the hand of chance. You might think, this is so obsessive, this can't be healthy, the way this manifests. To a degree. In life, it probably won't be healthy. But in the game, in the discipline, in CSGO, in League of Legends, in StarCraft 2, you will have the success. Or you will have success more than you would have done. And if you're really only about that success and only about winning, that's what you've told me you want. That's what you told me you're willing to give everything for. So why don't you do that part of it? Because if you do, then you'll have that success. That's why these factors, these qualities, in nearly all cases, determine the greatest winners of all time. It has to be, the practice aspect has to have its own crazy aspect where it's almost Sisyphean, where it's the satisfaction of just working to improve, not even to win that game or win that tournament, just working to improve and then knowing that the victory will come and that things will work out. When you've put in all your best effort, then you can feel some satisfaction, and it's still going to be a small satisfaction for the amount of work you put in. But you're going to know that after each small battle, a tiny bit of satisfaction is there that you continued to keep going, you didn't give up. And then on the very back end, you're going to get your payoff, that you succeed and you have your big moment. Whereas everyone else wants to pay off now. They want to feel good winning this scrim. They want to feel good that they've got nice skills and that, oh, don't worry about that, I'm having fun in this practice, and our team, yeah, we all have so much fun in scrims, like, oh, we get along so well, I love to go out for meals with these guys and go to Disneyland. None of that fucking matters. You're taking your payoff at the beginning and then you're wondering why at the end you're bankrupt and there's nothing left for you at the end and it wasn't what you expected because you weren't willing to invest all of that effort early and get the payoff on the back end. The people who do that are the champions. There's a saying that victory is fleeting, success is fleeting. People like Kobe Bryant, like these great players, one of the reasons why they won so many championships is because there's other great players who, when everything went right and everything in their game was right, and they weren't injured and they had the right teammates, they won one year. And other years, they tried hard and they were like, oh, well, I did win one or two, like I did well. The difference is they can still reminisce somehow and go, yeah, I did win and that was a great moment. The greatest champions of all time seriously say, the day you win, you're jubilant, you have this joy, it feels incredible, you feel all this energy coming forwards, you love your teammates, you love the things you've accomplished, but the next day, it dawns upon you, if you're a true winner, someone who sacrificed everything to be a champion, you realise the next season is going to begin in a few months. And this last season now was amazing, but that's gone. And so I have to now win the next season. And it's that obsessive drive that makes these guys the greatest champions of all time. They weren't willing to ever rest on their laurels or imagine something could be good and finish third and go, well, I could have finished second, so it's sort of like finishing second, right? It's not. Finishing third's a million miles from finishing second. If that was your real goal and you'd really put in all the effort there, you'd know how far you were. The fact you don't shows that you haven't put in the effort and you think it's some kind of luck or you just hope for things to go the right way. Most pros don't just want to win. Fuck that word, just. Oh, I just want to accomplish the most difficult thing to do in any competitive discipline that takes everything out of me, possibly costing all aspects of sacrifice in my life, my health, my friendships, my family. Oh, I just want to accomplish that thing. Do you? And are you willing to pay the price? No. They just want to win on their terms. They want to win on terms that are comfortable, that are suitable to them. They won't force the hand of chance or sacrifice or risk anything of value. They want to win while having fun. They want to win while having a girlfriend. They want to win while living at home in certain games. They want to win while not having proper coaching or not being receptive to the coach in the practice games. They want to win while only practicing half seriously or only getting hard against certain opponents and not practicing hard against the lesser opponents or not even playing practice if there's no really good opponents available. They don't want to put in the focus that it takes to be an elite level player. They aren't willing to put away their focus on streaming for a little bit and put more focus on the competitive side. They're not willing to win if it means they have to study the opponent and obsess over their own games and see their little flaws. They don't want to look back on that. They want to think of the positives in the future, and that won't happen again, mate. No, you have to be willing to put yourself through that torture and that pain of looking at all your mistakes, realizing how you fucked up so that next time you can be the best and you can improve and you can tweak that little area and you can practice with purpose to iron out that wrinkle. They want to be the best and win while ignoring the fundamentals, thinking, oh, those are just for beginners. Those are for worse players. I'm a very good player already. Sure, but if you have the best fundamentals in the world, you will be one of the best players in the world. That is a fact. They want to win while playing with friends, or they want to win while playing with people who they think are cool, or they have a good history with, or they've always gotten along with outside of the game, or this guy gives me a good vibe in the game. They don't want to make the hard choices for their teammates and their career and where they're going to go. In the end, they choose comfort over conquest. They choose smiles over success. They choose amusement over achievement. They choose fun over fruition that comes from all this effort and work. Now, if you want to play practice, study the game, play with intent that you want to win, and you really do want to win, and you're willing to work at it, you're willing to keep your eye on the small details, could play Fantasy Esports at Alpha Draft.